Courtroom 2B was unusually quiet as the bailiff called the session to order. At the front, Judge Carl Simmons shuffled papers briskly, clearly irritated by the case before him. His tone, clipped and dismissive, matched his reputation as a judge who didn't like to waste the court's time. The defendant was Deshaun Avery, a 36-year-old legal policy analyst and founder of a nonprofit that trained marginalized communities on how to navigate the legal system. That day, however, he wasn't there to train anyone. He was fighting a zoning violation that threatened to shut down his community center. The complaint, filed by a city official with known ties to private developers, claimed the building was out of code and operating without proper documentation. But Deshaun had evidence that permits were filed on time, inspections passed, and the charges were rooted in political retaliation. More importantly, he had receipts, and he planned to present them. But Judge Simmons wasn't interested. "We're not going to drag this out," Simmons snapped. "We'll hear brief statements from both sides, then I'll make a ruling before recess." Deshaun, seated beside a thick binder of prepared arguments and evidence, was stunned. He stood calmly and spoke. "Your Honor, I respectfully request the court allow full examination of the facts. I have material evidence, including city emails, zoning maps, and affidavits from inspection officers. To disregard this would be a denial of due process." Judge Simmons waved a hand. "You'll have time to summarize, but this court's calendar is booked, and I'm not inclined to delay over what appears to be a routine property dispute." Deshaun didn't flinch. He nodded slightly, sat down, and opened his laptop. 10 minutes later, during the city's statement, he was typing a legal emergency motion in real time. By the time the judge said, "Let's move to ruling," Deshaun stood again. "Your Honor," he said clearly, "I am filing an emergency stay with the Court of Appeals on the basis of judicial haste infringing upon procedural fairness. I have submitted it electronically and have printed copies for the court." He handed the motion to the clerk and added, "This motion is filed under OCGA Section 5-6-34, which allows for interlocutory appeal in matters where irreparable harm may occur from premature judgment." The courtroom paused. Judge Simmons leaned forward, startled. "Are you saying you filed this right now?" "Yes, Your Honor. I had prepared it in the event this court did not allow due process." The city's counsel interjected, "Objection, this is a stalling tactic." But the damage was done. Deshaun had submitted a properly formatted motion with a time-stamped email receipt from the appellate clerk. The judge had no choice but to acknowledge it. Simmons sighed. "Fine. The court acknowledges the emergency stay. This hearing is suspended pending review." Outside the courtroom, reporters were already gathering. The story had gained traction after Deshaun had posted the timeline and documents of the alleged city retaliation on his nonprofit's social media page. His live legal maneuver was being retweeted across legal circles. Within 72 hours, the appellate court granted the emergency stay and later ruled that the lower court had violated Deshaun's right to procedural justice. The entire case was remanded to a different judge for full hearings. By then, Deshaun's legal acumen had become the subject of an op-ed in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution titled "Justice Delayed Unless You Know How to Demand It." The community center remained open, and donations to his nonprofit surged. One of his interns, a first-year law student, asked him later that week, "How did you stay so calm when the judge tried to steamroll you?" Deshaun smiled. "Because I wrote the manual they're trying to skip, and I never walk into a courtroom without 3 plans. The one I want, the one they'll try, and the one I'll use when they forget I know the law too."